Hello everyone and welcome back to another year of amazing content from literally the only British leftist YouTuber, and sadly we're going to have to talk about stuff that kind of happened last year because I had my Christmas break, and there's nothing worse as a content creator. Obviously you're always looking for a video topic on something you care about, of course, to see something that you do care about basically explode, and something that encompasses so many things you've been speaking about until that moment. And that was, of course, the recent MAGA civil war over Trump and Elon's approach to immigration, right? And why this frustrated me and why, it was annoying it happened on my break is it encompassed like the stuff I've been talking about with Indian migrants to Canada. It talked about, Elon and Nigel Farage, or him turning on Nigel Farage recently as well. And I was like, I really wish I could have made a video, but because I've had to take my time and wait, I'm going to tackle this from a kind of different angle. I am going to talk about, what I've just said. At the same time, I'm not going to give you it like play by play. I'm not going to get into like the real detail. Firstly, because I'm not using Twitter anymore. Like, I just refuse to use it. So I can't just go on Musk's timeline and read the tweets. But also because it's so long, I wanted to kind of tie it to just like more like theory-based things. And that mainly is, I want to talk about today opportunistic fascism. And as a leftist, and as many leftists watching this will know, any capitalist will always choose fascism over leftism or socialism, because fascism will protect the capitalist class. Or if you get in bed with the fascist government, they will protect the capitalist class. And we did see that in Nazi Germany itself, where the Nazis were funded by a whole host of very rich German people. And of course, once they got into power, a lot of these German millionaires got huge contracts from the Nazi government. And these are companies that, of course, survived the end of the Nazi regime because they jumped into bed with the post-war regime in West Germany. Big pharmaceutical companies like Bayer, Volkswagen, a whole host of other German companies survived because, they just switched their allegiance after the war. And they don't care if it's fascism or liberal democracy, as long as you provide them the best return on investment. They don't really care because it doesn't affect them. Whoever does the best job for their money is who they're going to back. And Elon Musk is basically like a perfect example of this, but Donald Trump is also a good example of this. These are people historically that have backed various different causes. They funded political candidates from across the spectrum. They've jumped into bed with various administrations when it suited them. And Donald Trump eventually, of course, just like ran for president himself. But Elon Musk is another good example where he supported Joe Biden for president and now basically helped Donald Trump win, and seems to have just bought himself a seat at the US government. And as I'm saying that, you might say in your head, and I've called Elon Musk a fascist, you might say, well, why does it really matter if he's an opportunistic fascist or if he's like a genuine fascist? Is there really any difference there? And I totally understand that argument, but the main thing is, when Donald Trump goes down, eventually, Musk will jump ship and he'll attach himself to the next thing. That could be some sort of Democrat, that could be JD Vance, that could be another Republican. It doesn't matter because, like I said, he's an opportunistic fascist. Yes, sure, Musk is probably deeply racist, bigoted, xenophobic, but what we see with this MAGA civil war is truly what Elon Musk wants. He wants the H-1B visa. In spite of all the mass sentiment with the MAGA movement that they hate immigrants, he wants that. And he supports Trump as a vehicle to get more of that to work at his companies in the US, right? So while he has supported xenophobic fascism, it's still opportunistic to get what he wants. And that's, like I said, capitalism will choose fascism if it's the best option, but then it will also choose anything. The capitalist class will choose anything. They don't care. They don't have allegiance to a political ideology. Even if they do have a political ideology themselves, they have allegiance to the bag. And that's pretty much it. So all of that coming up for you today. Please follow me on my social medias, my Instagram, my travel Instagram. One little thing I want to promote, started my gaming Instagram. I am obsessed with photo modes in games. I have like nearly 4,000 pictures on my phone from photo modes. I posted a few photos on the Warhammer subreddit recently from playing through Space Marine. It got a good response, so it kind of pushed me to finally make this Instagram page. Would appreciate it if any of you who like gaming, go follow that. And I'm just going to post my photo mode, and there's a lot of good games coming out with good photo modes this year. Assassin's Creed, Shadows is going to be like a massive one because I already take loads of photos on all the Assassin's Creed games. So yeah, go check that out. Check out my Patreon, become a YouTube member, all that good stuff. Let's get more into the video. So to frame the recent MAGA civil war with Elon like leading one side basically, but Trump kind of behind the scenes backing him, is in a video recently I talked about just the insane racism against Indians in Canada. Now, the reason so many Indians immigrate to Canada rather than America is because it is easier to get a visa. And Indian immigrants generally meet the criteria for a lot of like higher level visas as well. They generally have good English, they have good educations. And what we're talking about today is Elon Musk, you know, wants Indian migrants who specialize in things like IT. Now, the American visa system is way more harsh, and the H-1B visa is, of course, you know, not some sort of like easy way to get into America, but it does allow people from countries like India to come to America and do these jobs. In fact, I think it's like 73% of people who do have H-1B visas are actually from India. So Musk actually said, the reason I'm in America along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong is because of H-1B. I will go to war on these issues, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. Of course, it's true that a lot of these skilled, educated tech workers or engineers will take advantage of this. But the way Musk and others are framing it is that only people making like insane salaries are going to come here, like the best of the best. And basically, the more sinister element, which has been proven true, is people were quite shocked at how many people kept working at Twitter when Musk took it over. But then it came out a lot of people who were staying and working in these new brutal conditions were on these visas, right? And visas are tied to your employment. So why would someone like Musk like this? Because you can treat immigrant laborers worse, and that happens in Canada as well. I talked about this in a video. So people like Musk like this visa because you can get people who are just as skilled, who speak just as good English and everything like that, but they might accept both less pay and you have the leverage of you can threaten their status in America with their employment, right? So people like Musk know these people will work harder and will question you less because you have that threat that you don't have on people who are born American citizens. So that is obviously like a really fair critique to make, and people from the left will happily make that critique as well. While we aren't anti-immigration or anything like that, it's pretty clear why people like Musk want this, right? Now, of course, Donald Trump twice campaigned or 3 times campaigned on basically bringing back American jobs. So all those jobs that were exported overseas for cheap labor in China, in India, and all these places, he was saying, I would bring them back. Now, of course, that's just never going to happen because even Trump knows that America is absolutely addicted to consumer capitalism. Consumer capitalism relies on cheap labor in poorer countries to maintain the prices. So Americans wouldn't actually be prepared to pay more for consumer goods if the jobs came back. That just wouldn't happen, right? Trump knows that, but it's just this like nativist, xenophobic rhetoric he uses. And I don't think actually most conservatives who voted for Donald Trump based on this actually care about this, because I'm sure if you explain it to them, yeah, if you bring all these jobs back, your bills are going to be more. Your goods are going to be more. They would say they don't want it, right? So the way Donald Trump was talking about this was mainly like a xenophobic tactic, in my opinion, right? They don't actually care. And some leftists might be tricked into thinking a lot of these MAGA people actually care about it in this framework, right? They're saying, stop taking away American jobs by bringing over these immigrants that you can control better, right? They don't really think about it like that. What I saw a lot online was they're mad because more Indians will be coming to America. Just like what has happened in Canada, they don't want that to happen because, as we've seen with the reaction to increased Indian migration to Canada, a lot of the problems people have with it isn't actually based on the job stuff. Most of it is based on cultural reasons about how Indians are incompatible with Western values and stuff. But even so, when you have Elon Musk and Donald Trump pushing this while campaigning on keep immigrants out and I'm going to deport 20 million people, you can see why he is pissing off people who do support Donald Trump and voted for Donald Trump based on xenophobia. You can't campaign on deport 20 million and I want to make it easier for people to actually migrate here. It's just not a consistent message, but that's what I'm saying. Opportunistic fascism. Elon Musk, he doesn't really support closing the border. To distract from what he actually believes, he might support, like, I don't know, cracking down on poorer migrants who cross the southern border, right? But at the same time, he wants more foreign workers. Elon Musk companies are global, and he has a lot of people working for him in places like China and stuff. So that isn't really compatible with this America First type, like, MAGA sentiment, right? But Elon Musk has happily allowed this to flourish on Twitter. He's pushed this personally himself for so long, and that's because he was an opportunist. And that's because if you are a conservative who thinks Elon Musk is on your side based on things like immigration or workers' rights, no, he's not. He just conned you, like he cons everyone. And he chose Trump as his vehicle for his own agenda. The agenda, when you boil it down, is how do I make as much money as possible? So how do I get immigration laws to suit me where I can make more money and keep my workers more in line? And how do I get more government subsidies? He chose Donald Trump for this. But remember, guys, before he chose Ron DeSantis. And him and DeSantis made a deal where he launched the DeSantis campaign on Twitter. DeSantis signed a law in Florida where I think it made Elon Musk safer from being sued from SpaceX employees and stuff, right? It was transactional. And that's how Elon Musk views these things. And that's how the billionaire class view these things. It is transactional. So is Elon Musk ideologically like an absolutely massive racist white supremacist? Yeah. Has he used all his platforms to push like actual fascism? Yes. Would Elon Musk support a Democrat in future? Yes, he would. As would most billionaires, and you're seeing this with Mark Zuckerberg now as well, and I made a video on that too, where he's switching his allegiance to Donald Trump, but he would also switch his allegiance back to the Democrats if Donald Trump is really unpopular and the Republicans are basically done. That's how these things have always worked, and that's how it always will work. But also, I will say, Elon Musk has seemingly lost his mind as well, and in these calculations he's making to try and manipulate just Western politics, he is making some missteps. So, as you saw there, he shouldn't have like died on the hill. That he actually supports relaxing immigration policies. And that's what kicked off MAGA turning against him. So in the UK, he said, and I made a video on this before Christmas, he said, I'm going to give maybe like £100 million to Nigel Farage and the Reform Party. So if you haven't been following UK politics over the last decade, Nigel Farage has been this figure who has basically taken the far-right position in British politics on things like immigration, the EU. Key campaigner for Brexit. He was the leader of UKIP, jumped ship, was leader of the Brexit party, made a deal with the Tories to basically stand down so they could easily win the 2019 election. He's made a comeback recently with Reform, which actually won seats at the 2024 election, including him becoming an MP for the first time. And they've positioned themselves firmly to the right of the far-right Tories, but they are still trying to be like a serious political party like you might see in, you know, Western Europe, like as serious as fascists can be, but there is a kind of clamour for legitimacy. And Farage is fairly popular with, I guess, normal people, and that's his whole image, like having a pint, smoking cigarettes, always pretending he's for the people and he's from like this working class background and he's not, just another rich guy cosplaying as working class. But yeah, that's Farage for you. So Elon Musk saying he's going to give him money, probably a return on investment, that if Farage does become Prime Minister one day, which isn't unthinkable, that he would be favourable to Elon Musk. But what has happened recently is, for some reason, and that's because his brain is absolutely cooked, Elon Musk has thrown his support behind Tommy Robinson instead, saying that Tommy Robinson should be freed from prison, saying that Nigel Farage should actually step down from the Reform Party as the leader, which would be an absolute own goal for them politically because he is this popular politician, relatively speaking. He does have that legitimacy in the mainstream, and Musk wants to replace him with Tommy Robinson, who isn't popular, right? Like, he does have his fans, he does have this, like, you know, following of racists and football hooligans, but Tommy Robinson has low legitimacy with the mainstream. And actually, Tommy Robinson and Sargon of Akkad, they tried to be European MPs, and they got rejected, right? So you seriously think Tommy Robinson is going to either be elected as an MP or lead Reform to, like, a great victory at an election? It's just not happening. But this also comes with what I want to talk about today is Elon Musk has kind of like lost his mind, right? It is cooked by Twitter. So if you live in the Twitter bubble And you're going to see more stuff like Tommy Robinson style far-right Nazism on Twitter, right? Talking about Islam, talking about grooming gangs, all this stuff. Stuff that Farage will touch but won't get in the weeds about and won't make it central to his party, right? Where that is all Tommy Robinson will talk about. And in the bubble of Twitter and Elon Musk just being an absolute addict to far-right Twitter, he has convinced himself somehow that Tommy Robinson is the future of the far-right in Britain, and that's the person he should boost to try and have an influence in British politics. Don't think this strategy is going to work as effectively as it did in America, because most of the political parties, including Reform, are now saying they don't want Elon Musk to influence UK politics, right? But at the same time, Labour have also hinted they're not going to change the electoral funding laws to stop someone like Musk from having a massive influence on UK politics. And I actually said this was going to happen in my video covering this, that they wouldn't actually change anything. And that is why, fundamentally, billionaires and being a billionaire is just undemocratic. Because what we're seeing with Elon Musk right now is, in one country, he just bought an election to, like I said, do the things he wants economically. And now he's trying to influence another country's electoral system to basically do the same thing. And we're seeing he is unstable. We're seeing he's erratic. We're seeing he's like starting fights with all these MPs. He even said the British government should be overthrown. So like, I don't know, Tommy Robinson can become the Prime Minister. Like, this guy is clearly not all there in the head at the moment. But here's the thing, under capitalism and our current system of capitalism, what is stopping this guy? And people who believe in capitalism, ask yourselves, what is going to stop him? He is one of the richest men in the world, has just got the most powerful man in the world elected for another term as president. He's going to be firmly in bed with the most powerful government in the world. He has an untold fortune that he can spend how he wants. And why is no one doing anything? Ask yourselves, why is no one doing anything? And in America, for example, the Democrats, why don't they pass campaign finance laws? Why don't they pass electoral reform when they were in power so you could stop a Musk from like turning a social media platform into the Trump campaign? It's because they benefit from it too. They benefit from all this obscene money in politics to get them elected. And in the UK, the reason the Labour Party aren't doing anything is because they're the same. It's not to the same level as the US, but they benefit from this system as well, because capitalists, whether they be liberal capitalists, fascist capitalists, whatever, it doesn't really matter. If they all benefit from the system, they're trying to win within this system. They don't want to change the system though. And even when they're threatened by someone like Musk, they're not going to change the rules of the game to stop him, because they feel like it's not in their best interest to change the rules of the game, because it would backfire on their own power. So although Democrats and Labour MPs might find Elon Musk detestable, they might find his politics oh so disgusting, will his threats and his potential influence on UK politics make them act in a different way? No. Did it happen in America? No, it's not going to happen here either. That's why capitalism is fundamentally undemocratic, and there is no democracy in capitalism. Any stupid liberal lecturing other countries that don't have liberal democracy, like, let's say, Vietnam or Cuba, oh my God, no democracy, no democracy, how can you live in a one-party state? While we're currently seeing the richest man in the world, who's from South Africa, is a US citizen, bought an election in America, and now wants to buy an election in the UK, which he probably could if he wanted to. No one's stopping that, and we're trying to lecture other countries about democracy. And even beyond that, even if we got rid of Elon Musk, even if there wasn't just this one high-profile figure who's very controversial, at the end of the day, elections under capitalism are just an absolute sham. Think of what happened in the UK recently. We replaced the Tories with the Tories light. They basically pursue the same agenda. They have the same donors. They have the same economic ideology. Where is the democracy? We switched the governments. Apparently they're completely different, but the result is pretty much the exact same. And that is with everything, because in America, it's the best example. You're brainwashed by the capitalist media. Things that are overwhelmingly popular, like universal healthcare, never even get mentioned in an election cycle because they don't have to. They've paid enough money to ensure that people who would make this an issue don't get elected into power. And you see lobby groups like AIPAC. If you want to be anti-Israeli in US politics, this group will come for you and ensure that you will lose your seat, basically. Is anyone trying to argue that you can have a democracy under capitalism where financial interests just completely rule the country? Elections in the US and the UK are just a sham on a national level. Like, it really doesn't make a difference who's in power. And people get mad when you say that. But if you are an actual leftist and not some weird sock dem who thinks you can change things from the inside, if only we had a few more socialist MPs and everything will be okay. No, that's not the way it works. Under our capitalist system, there will never be democracy for the people. We will never vote in things that we all need as a society, as a collective. We will be ruled by the 1%, and our politics will be driven by the 1% and the propagandists in the media to ensure our lives never get better, but people continue to get richer. That's why billionaires and millionaires continue to get richer and you continue to get poorer. And there's nothing you can do based on just a vote in a sham democracy that is going to change that. Because if Keir Starmer loses the next election, who will replace him? The Tories, pretty similar to Labour, or Reform, which are pretty similar to the Tories, who are also run by a bunch of millionaires, right? In the UK and US, you have like 2 or 3 choices that are all capitalists, Zionists, and imperialists, and none of them will try and make your life better. Elon Musk is the very, very ugly face of why billionaires just shouldn't exist in a democracy, right? Like, we can point to Elon Musk and say, that's why. But we didn't need an Elon Musk to say this. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they go more under the radar, but they do the same shit. All these rich people do the exact same shit. Elon Musk is just bringing more attention to what they do. But what these people have done is they've amassed their fortune off these sham democracies, and now they're using their mass finances to influence the politics even more to ensure they can just accumulate more and more wealth, which of course equals power, and insulating themselves from basically any laws the rest of us follow. So Elon Musk pissing off the fascists in the UK and the US based on his politics is because he's an opportunist fascist. And at the end of the day, he's always going to be a capitalist first and foremost. So he will boost these people who might say, get rid of all the immigrants. But it doesn't matter, because he's then going to influence these same people, his puppets, to actually pass relaxed immigration laws where it suits him, because that's what he cares about. He will use fascism to help his own capital. But don't be surprised in 10 years when he uses liberal democracy to do this as well, because that's what he did before, and that's how he got all his government contracts before. So that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.